So when I first decided that I wanted to do this series about my own personal journey with myelofibrosis, I instantly decided that the best way for you to get a grasp on not only my journey, but just what myelofibrosis is and how I dealt with it and how it might help you to deal with it if you have it. Or maybe you're someone who knows a loved one that's battling with myelofibrosis, and maybe it'll help you. And so I decided that in episode 1, what we'll do is, first we'll briefly define myelofibrosis. Now I'm only going to give a brief explanation because my specialist, Dr. Zogi, has agreed to come on during a later segment to talk to you in more depth about myelofibrosis, okay? And then how did I get here? We'll take a 30,000 foot view of how I got here. And quite naturally, that means we will start with the early days of my journey. Okay, so those are the things we're going to cover today. I hope it takes no longer than 15 minutes. That's my aim for these segments, 15 minutes and no more. Okay, so here we go. So the brief definition of MF, myelofibrosis, not what you're thinking, is a rare blood cancer, and it affects the bone marrow and naturally the blood. Okay, I won't go into a whole lot more detail than that, except to say 46% of patients need blood transfusions, and about 60% are anemic within a year of their myelofibrosis diagnosis. So that's something to keep in mind. Some of the symptoms would be enlarged spleen. You can have a low platelet count. Okay, these are some of the things that you have to look out for. All right. The 30,000 foot view, I guess the best way to explain it is with some video. And so I'm going to insert some video and then we'll be back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mac, and I know the last time there was any communication, it was, hey, there's been a setback. I'll talk to you guys later. And I guess in some ways I have to apologize, excuse me, for the short abruptness, but I was supposed to go into the hospital, as you all probably remember, on November 8th. I had a final set of tests on November 7th. The last box I had to check off didn't go so well. I tested positive for COVID. Needless to say, that knocked me out the box. You may have heard me coughing, you may have heard me wheezing, you may have heard me, for the better part of a few weeks, I'm still coughing a little, but I'm past the contagious stage. But, I'm doing better. I'm doing better. And I'm now scheduled to go back to the hospital for admittance for real this time on November 21st, the actual transplant date. Get this, the day before Thanksgiving. Yeah, November 27th. This is going to be very short. It is go time. I arrived at the hospital. Everything's good, and now I'm just waiting for them to tell me my room number. Hey gang, it's Mac, and as you can see, I am laying somewhat comfortably in my hospital bed. So, just a quick brief update. As some of y'all may know, I got here this morning. Getting through it, admittance was seamless. It was quick.
got up here, met the staff, the daytime staff. Of course, they've changed a couple of times since this morning, but everyone's been wonderful. I've eaten a little bit. They started putting me on my meds. Uh, and right now, just moments ago, I started my first treatment of chemo. And so now, for those of you who don't know, all right, this is one of those necessary steps in order for me to get the bone marrow, the new bone marrow from a donor. I have to go through this. I'm going to be all right now. Say around the 5th day of this. Yeah, that's about the time when I'll start feeling kind of funny, possibly. Nausea, maybe feeling a little pain, probably a little weakness. There's going to be things going on, but, it helps to be prepared for it, I guess. Prepared in terms of the fact that that something's coming. But the funny thing about it is, there are things that are typical that happen, to patients going through what I'm going through, but it doesn't mean that everyone's going to have the same issues. And so I may be fortunate in that instead of dealing with 8 different issues, I might deal with 1 or 2. It's possible. And so, meanwhile, so you go through this. The chemo zaps you of all your bone marrow, all your blood cells, the good and the bad. And then when it's all done and over with, I get a day or 2 to recover, probably a day. And then when the 27th gets here, that's when they're actually going to do the transplant. And so what they do, so in this case, the new bone marrow is going to be frozen. That wasn't the original plan, but because of my delays on my part, thankfully the donor agreed to freeze his marrow, and so it's here. It's going to be here, ready to go if it's not here already, and I think it is. And so it'll pop up on the day that I'm getting the transplant, and there are things that they have to do to prepare it. I mean, again, remember it's frozen, right? So they're going to have to go, and they're going to have to. I don't want to say microwave, but like defrost it, and bring it up to a certain temperature. And I'm guessing we're talking about regular human temperature, 98.6 or 7 or whatever it is, 96.8. I forget. You guys probably know better than I do. But anyway, and so I'm not going to pull my shirt up, but I think I told you all about the port. If you don't know, in preparation for this, they get what they call a port, and they stick it in your chest, right about up here, and it goes underneath your skin, and it leads to one of your larger blood vessels, all right? And so what happens is, instead of you getting poked constantly every day, every time they need to get blood, or every time they need to inject meds in you, and so forth, so on, it's just one time. I already got that poked, basically. And so when they're not, using it, they're not injecting you with a tube of medication, or if they're not taking blood for lab work or what have you, they have a top to, keep everything off so that nothing, it's not being used. But when they use it, it's multi-purpose. Like I said, they can insert meds intravenously. They can, take blood for labs. They can do all these different things, including inject the new bone marrow. And so that's why that's there. And I trying. I don't know. I really want to say cue the burlesque music, but you could see a little bit. That's the port, all right. Well, that's the outside of the port. The port is further up, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to. But y'all are going to have to take my word for it. But anyway, so that's what's going on. Gabrielle, I see you. How are you? And so that's where things sit right now. I feel good. A couple of people have asked me today how I feel. And the first words that come to mind are thankful and grateful. I mean, who wants to go to the hospital, right? But the way I feel about it is this is the beginning of my healing. This is the beginning of my getting better. Those with, who have these transplants, they refer to the day that they have the transplant as their rebirth day. So my rebirth day would be the 27th, November 27th. That's when they're going to do the transplant. And a lot of people celebrate their rebirth day too. So it's a big deal for a lot of folks. I mean, I haven't been through this, so I don't know how I'm going to react to it. I'm not, into a whole lot of the rah-rah sort of thing, but, I mean, I don't know how I'm going to react to it. I have no idea. But in any event, I'm just grateful that I'm here, that I have this opportunity to heal, get better, hopefully inspire a few people along the way, maybe, and just go ahead and get this done so I can get on with my life. That's what I've been saying. I want to do this so I can get on with my life. So that's really it. That's really it, And we started this at about 10. It's almost 10:10 now. And that's 10:10 p.m. Central Time. And so so that's really it. So I just wanted to give you all a quick update. I'm going to try and give an update, short updates, maybe every other day. I'll give them when I think there's something meaningful to say. But, until next time, y'all know the drill. Be blessed, do something nice to somebody, and we'll see y'all again real soon.